The case against suing. In the United States, lawsuits have become a pervasive and often unquestioned part of daily life, with Americans filing legal disputes at a far higher rate than most other countries. The rate of litigation in the US is not only high but, when adjusted for population, far exceeds that of nations that prioritize peaceful conflict resolution methods. For instance, Japan and Switzerland, countries with legal systems focused on mediation, conciliation, and arbitration, see a fraction of the litigation rates found in the US. I believe this overwhelming reliance on lawsuits is not just a problem, it is a deeply harmful trend that needs to be reversed. In my view, lawsuits, whether they are personal injury claims, contract disputes, or even family matters, should be avoided at all costs. There are, in my opinion, no valid reasons that justify litigation when there are peaceful and collaborative alternatives available. Countries like Japan and Switzerland exemplify how legal systems can work with far fewer lawsuits, opting instead for dialogue and cooperation. These countries demonstrate that disputes can be resolved without overwhelming the court system or escalating conflicts into adversarial legal battles. Similarly, nations like Norway, Germany, and the Netherlands have adopted mediation and arbitration as central components of their legal systems, proving that there are more effective and harmonious ways to address conflicts. Australia and New Zealand also offer valuable examples, where mediation is promoted as a primary tool for dispute resolution, avoiding the divisiveness of litigation. The global examples of these countries offer compelling evidence that there is a better way to handle disputes. I stand firmly against lawsuits in any form, believing that the damage caused by litigation, whether to relationships, economies, or social trust, far outweighs any potential benefit. In this speech, I will present alternative systems that provide peaceful solutions and illustrate why we should, as a society, reject the culture of litigation and move toward more cooperative, restorative methods of conflict resolution. The overwhelming reliance on litigation is slowly and steadily eroding the foundation of our economy, society, and relationships. Every year, an immense amount of financial and human resources are diverted to resolve disputes through the court system, funds that could be better spent advancing innovation, improving healthcare, or fostering education. The costs are not limited to monetary values. The time and energy drained by prolonged legal battles stifle progress and prevent growth, especially in industries such as healthcare, where defensive actions are taken to avoid the threat of lawsuits. These practices not only inflate costs for businesses and individuals, but also detract from efforts that could genuinely benefit society. But the economic toll is just the surface level of the problem. The broader impact is far more destructive to the social fabric of our communities. As litigation increasingly becomes the default method for resolving even minor disagreements, it creates an environment of hostility and suspicion. Rather than seeking cooperative solutions, parties are encouraged to see one another as adversaries, turning conflicts into battles rather than opportunities for resolution. This pervasive culture of litigation weakens the trust between individuals and institutions, leaving a society where collaboration is scarce and division is widespread. To fully understand the scale of this issue, let us first examine the cultural and systemic factors that contribute to the high litigation rates in the United States. Once we grasp these underlying causes, we can begin to see why a shift toward cooperative, peaceful methods is not only necessary but possible. Nations like Japan, Switzerland, and Norway have demonstrated that mediation, conciliation, and arbitration offer not only viable alternatives but more effective and sustainable solutions. It is time for the world to look at these models and recognize that fostering dialogue and peaceful resolutions can far outweigh the long-term damage caused by litigation. The case is clear. We must embrace conflict resolution systems that keep us out of the courtroom and preserve the relationships that are essential for a thriving society. While the statistics highlight the problem, the reasons behind this overwhelming reliance on lawsuits go much deeper. Let's now take a closer look at the cultural, legal, and economic factors that have shaped America's litigious landscape. First, the adversarial nature of the U.S. legal system inherently promotes conflict. Unlike systems in many other countries that prioritize resolution, the U.S. courts are designed as battlegrounds where each side seeks to win rather than collaborate. This win-or-lose mindset often discourages compromise and encourages prolonged disputes. Another factor is the accessibility of lawsuits. In the U.S., legal avenues are highly accessible, and filing a lawsuit is often seen as an acceptable first step in resolving a grievance. While accessibility to justice is important, it has also contributed to a culture where suing is seen as a natural response to problems, rather than exploring dialogue or mediation. Economic incentives also play a significant role. The contingency fee structure, where lawyers take a percentage of the settlement as payment, encourages a high volume of lawsuits, particularly in personal injury and class action cases. This system makes it financially viable for individuals to sue without upfront costs, but it also incentivizes attorneys to pursue litigation aggressively. Additionally, the sheer size and complexity of the U.S. economy contribute to frequent legal disputes. With one of the largest consumer markets in the world, conflicts between businesses, employees, and consumers are inevitable. The lack of universal standards for resolving disputes out of court means that many of these conflicts end up in litigation. Another driving force is the emphasis on individual rights within American culture. While the protection of individual rights is foundational to democracy, it has also led to a heightened sense of entitlement when those rights are perceived to be violated. This individualistic perspective often fuels a legalistic approach to solving personal and professional grievances. Lastly, there is a lack of widespread understanding or trust in alternative dispute resolution methods. Mediation, arbitration, and conciliation are underutilized in the U.S., often seen as secondary options to litigation rather than primary tools. This mindset further entrenches the reliance on courts as the default method of resolving disputes. By examining these underlying reasons, it becomes clear that the high litigation rate in the U.S. is not merely a symptom of a legal system but a reflection of deeper cultural and systemic tendencies. Addressing these root causes is essential to fostering a shift toward more collaborative and peaceful conflict resolution methods. Now that we understand the broader systemic issues, it's important to look at how the legal profession itself contributes to this culture. Lawyers, while essential to the legal system, often have incentives that align with promoting litigation rather than encouraging peaceful resolutions. While their primary purpose is to advocate for their clients, the structure and incentives within the legal profession often prioritize litigation over resolution. Many attorneys are trained in adversarial techniques that frame disputes as battles to be won rather than problems to be solved collaboratively. This approach, while effective in the courtroom, discourages compromise and fuels an all-or-nothing mindset in clients. Moreover, some lawyers actively encourage litigation even when alternative dispute resolution methods might suffice. This behavior is not inherently malicious. Rather, it stems from systemic incentives. For example, litigation often leads to higher billable hours, which translates into greater profits for law firms. The financial and professional rewards associated with drawn-out legal battles can overshadow the ethical imperative to seek the most efficient and equitable resolution for clients. The contingency fee structure, a hallmark of the American legal system, exacerbates the problem. While designed to provide access to justice for individuals who cannot afford upfront legal fees, this system has unintended consequences that promote excessive litigation. Under this arrangement, lawyers receive a percentage of the settlement or award as their payment. This creates a direct financial incentive for attorneys to pursue cases with the highest potential payouts, regardless of their broader social or economic impact. In practice, this system encourages the pursuit of frivolous or exaggerated claims. Attorneys may be more inclined to take on cases that promise significant monetary rewards, even if the merits of the claim are questionable. This a jackpot justice mindset not only burdens the courts with unnecessary cases, but also imposes significant costs on defendants who must spend time and money defending themselves, often opting to settle regardless of fault. The contingency fee model also fosters a litigious culture by promoting a gamble-like mentality among plaintiffs. Knowing that they owe nothing unless they win, individuals may feel emboldened to file lawsuits with minimal risk, further fueling a cycle of unnecessary disputes. This system does little to encourage plaintiffs or defendants to seek amicable resolutions, as both parties are drawn into a high-stakes adversarial process where winning becomes the sole focus. We must recognize that the negative consequences of our litigious culture, whether financial, social, or systemic, cannot be ignored. It's clear that a change in mindset is needed if we are to move away from litigation as the default response and toward more collaborative, peaceful methods of conflict resolution. It shifts the legal system's emphasis from fairness and efficiency to profit, turning justice into a commodity. To address this issue, we must critically evaluate the ethical and societal implications of this payment model and consider reforms that align legal incentives with the broader goal of conflict resolution rather than escalation. Beyond the courtroom, the pervasive culture of litigation spills into every corner of society, creating far-reaching economic and social consequences. Let's now examine how these impacts are felt at both the individual and business levels. While lawsuits are intended to provide justice and resolution, the over-reliance on legal battles has instead created significant economic, social, and systemic problems. One of the most visible consequences of America's litigious approach is the financial toll it imposes. Legal disputes are expensive, often involving exorbitant attorney fees, court costs, and other related expenses. For individuals, a single lawsuit can mean financial ruin, especially if prolonged litigation drains resources over months or years. Even those who ultimately win their cases may find the monetary and emotional costs outweigh the benefits. For businesses, the threat of lawsuits creates a constant need to allocate resources toward legal protection. This means higher insurance premiums, the employment of in-house legal teams, and the adoption of defensive practices that stifle innovation and growth. For instance, many companies avoid taking risks, whether in product development, hiring practices, or customer relations, simply to minimize the chances of being sued. These costs are often passed down to consumers, inflating prices and reducing competitiveness in the market. Nowhere is the financial and societal impact of litigation more evident than in the field of healthcare. The fear of malpractice lawsuits has given rise to a phenomenon known as defensive medicine, where healthcare providers order unnecessary tests, procedures, or treatments solely to protect themselves from legal claims. While this practice might reduce the risk of litigation, it significantly inflates healthcare costs and often exposes patients to unnecessary risks and discomfort. According to some estimates, defensive medicine contributes billions of dollars to healthcare spending annually. These funds could instead be directed toward improving patient care, investing in medical research, or expanding access to healthcare for underserved populations. Instead, they are diverted to safeguard against lawsuits, which often stem from minor errors or unavoidable complications rather than genuine negligence. The litigious culture in America also erodes the social fabric by fostering an environment of suspicion and hostility. When lawsuits become the default method of addressing grievances, individuals and institutions are less likely to trust one another. Relationships that might have been mended through dialogue or collaboration are instead fractured by adversarial legal proceedings. This atmosphere of distrust extends beyond personal relationships to society at large. Institutions, including businesses, schools, and healthcare providers, are often viewed through a lens of skepticism, with people assuming they are motivated more by self-preservation than goodwill. This eroded trust makes collaboration and community-building efforts more difficult, leaving a society that is increasingly divided and confrontational. The high volume of lawsuits also places an enormous strain on the judicial system. Court dockets are often overwhelmed, leading to delays in resolving cases. This backlog not only prolongs the suffering of parties involved in disputes, but also reduces the efficiency of the legal system as a whole. In criminal cases, for instance, delays caused by civil litigation clogging the courts can result in justice being delayed, or even denied. This undermines the core purpose of the judiciary, to provide timely and fair resolution for all. Beyond the judicial strain, excessive litigation also stifles innovation, creating a paradox where legal risks discourage progress. Entrepreneurs and businesses may hesitate to bring new products or services to market for fear of being sued. This is particularly true in industries like technology, pharmaceuticals, and manufacturing, where regulatory compliance is complex and legal risks are high. The litigious environment creates a paradox. While America prides itself on being a global leader in innovation, the culture of lawsuits actively discourages the boldness and experimentation that drive progress. As a result, some companies choose to operate in countries with less adversarial legal systems, leading to economic opportunities and advancements being developed elsewhere. Finally, the human cost of litigation cannot be overstated. Legal battles are emotionally draining, often leaving individuals feeling powerless, stressed, and demoralized. Families embroiled in contentious lawsuits, such as custody battles or inheritance disputes, may experience irreparable damage to their relationships. Even when cases are resolved, the scars of litigation often linger, leaving bitterness and resentment in their wake. The mental health toll extends to professionals as well. Lawyers, inundated with adversarial work, report high rates of burnout, depression, and substance abuse. The litigious culture, therefore, not only impacts those directly involved in disputes but also takes a toll on the professionals tasked with navigating the system. By examining these cascading effects, it becomes clear that the culture of litigation in America is more than a mere legal issue. It is a societal crisis. Addressing these challenges requires a fundamental shift in how disputes are viewed and resolved, moving away from adversarial approaches toward cooperative and restorative solutions. Simultaneously, restructuring professional incentives is essential. Introducing ethical guidelines that reward attorneys for resolving disputes amicably and penalize the pursuit of frivolous claims can help realign the priorities of the legal profession. For instance, fee structures could be adjusted to reflect outcomes that emphasize collaboration and fairness over monetary gains. While systemic changes are crucial, transforming the U.S. legal landscape requires addressing the cultural roots of its litigious tendencies. Promoting community-based conflict resolution programs, similar to those in New Zealand and Japan, can help rebuild trust and foster a spirit of cooperation at the grassroots level. Beyond shifting legal practices, efforts should also focus on reshaping societal attitudes toward conflict. Public campaigns emphasizing the value of compromise, dialogue, and mutual understanding can create a cultural shift where disputes are seen not as battles to be won but as opportunities to strengthen relationships. Additionally, the integration of technology, inspired by South Korea's innovations, can further democratize access to ADR. Virtual mediation platforms would allow individuals and businesses to resolve disputes conveniently and affordably, reducing the reliance on formal court proceedings. These platforms should be designed to accommodate diverse needs, ensuring inclusivity and accessibility for all participants. The path forward is clear. By learning from global examples and committing to systemic and cultural change, the United States can build a legal system that values harmony over hostility. This transformation will not only alleviate the economic and social burdens of litigation but also strengthen the foundations of trust and collaboration that are essential for a thriving society. It is time to move beyond a culture of lawsuits and embrace a future where conflict resolution uplifts, rather than divides, our communities. The logical next section of your speech could be the benefits of a collaborative legal system, where you would outline the advantages of shifting toward alternative dispute resolution methods like mediation and arbitration. This section would emphasize the positive outcomes for individuals, businesses, and society as a whole. Adopting a collaborative legal system, one that prioritizes mediation and arbitration over litigation, offers significant benefits on multiple levels, economically, socially, and culturally. These benefits are not just theoretical, they are demonstrated by countries that have embraced these methods with great success. One of the most immediate and tangible benefits of reducing reliance on litigation is the significant cost savings. Legal battles often drag on for months or even years, consuming resources that could be better spent elsewhere. Individuals and businesses alike bear the financial burden of high attorney fees, court costs, and the indirect costs of lengthy disputes. Mediation and arbitration, by contrast, are typically faster and far less expensive. In the healthcare industry, for example, reducing litigation through mediation can help lower the phenomenon of defensive medicine, where doctors order unnecessary tests and procedures to protect themselves from lawsuits. This would translate to lower healthcare costs overall, allowing more funds to be allocated toward patient care and innovation. Our court systems are overwhelmed, and this backlog prevents timely access to justice. By shifting more disputes to alternative methods like mediation, the courts would be able to focus on criminal cases and those that truly require judicial intervention. This not only reduces delays but also allows for a more efficient use of judicial resources. It also enhances the overall accessibility of the legal system for individuals who truly need it, preventing justice from being delayed or denied. A critical aspect of a collaborative legal system is its potential to preserve relationships. Whether it's in family law, business partnerships, or employer-employee disputes, the adversarial nature of litigation often causes irreparable damage to relationships. Mediation, on the other hand, allows for open communication and negotiation, helping parties reach agreements that are mutually beneficial. This focus on cooperation over confrontation helps strengthen social trust, as individuals and institutions are seen as problem solvers rather than opponents. It creates a more cohesive society, where people are willing to work together to resolve conflicts rather than resorting to litigation as the default response. A less litigious society encourages entrepreneurs and businesses to take more calculated risks, knowing that they are not constantly facing the threat of legal retribution. This, in turn, fosters innovation. Industries such as technology and healthcare thrive on creative solutions, but a litigious environment can stifle the risk-taking necessary for breakthroughs. With a focus on resolution over litigation, businesses can focus on growth and progress, rather than defending themselves against the next lawsuit. Finally, the emotional and psychological toll of litigation is immense. The stress and anxiety that come with long legal battles can take a toll on individuals, families, and businesses. Mediation offers a more constructive path to resolving disputes, allowing individuals to maintain a sense of control over the outcome and fostering a sense of closure. For families, particularly in cases like divorce or child custody, avoiding a protracted legal battle can help preserve emotional well-being and protect the interests of children. A shift toward a collaborative legal system offers far-reaching benefits, from reducing costs and strain on the judicial system to fostering stronger relationships and communities. The evidence is clear: resolving conflicts through cooperation, rather than litigation, leads to a more harmonious, efficient, and innovative society. By embracing these methods, we can build a future where disputes are resolved with understanding and respect, rather than escalating into battles that drain resources and damage trust. In conclusion, it is crucial that we recognize the profound harm that our current litigious society inflicts on individuals, families, businesses, and entire communities. Litigation should not be the first response to conflict. It should not be the reflexive answer for any dispute, no matter how small or large. I stand here today with a clear and unwavering position. I am critical of anyone who resorts to suing for any reason. It is not only costly in terms of money and time, but it damages relationships, exacerbates divisions, and often causes more harm than the original issue ever could have. Suing should be a last resort, reserved for only the most extreme cases where no other method of resolution is possible. Too often, the legal system is misused by those who seek retribution rather than resolution, who prioritize personal gain over the well-being of society. Litigation should never be seen as a tool for personal vendettas or to simply win at the expense of another. It must be recognized as the extreme measure it truly is, used only when all other avenues, mediation, negotiation, and collaboration, have been exhausted. It is time for a cultural shift, a shift away from litigation as the default option and toward collaboration as the solution. We need a society that values understanding, communication, and mutual respect over courtroom battles and legal victories. I call on all of us, lawyers, judges, business leaders, and citizens alike, to rethink how we resolve our disputes. Let us build a future where the first instinct is not to sue, but to sit down, to listen, and to find a solution that works for everyone. Only then can we truly begin to foster a legal system that serves justice, not conflict. Let us all be part of the solution, not the problem. The path forward is clear: embrace collaboration, reject unnecessary litigation, and create a society where disputes are resolved not in courtrooms, but through dialogue, understanding, and mutual respect.